Chapter 3. I think he had to touch her, Graham said in meeting. Crawford handed him a Coke from the machine in the Atlanta police headquarters. It was 7:50 a.m. Sure, he moved her around, Crawford said. There were grip marks on her wrists and behind her knees, but every print in his face was from non-porous gloves. Don't worry, Price is here. Groucho bastard. He's on his way to the funeral home now. The morgue released the bodies last night, but funeral home's not doing anything yet. You look bushed. Did you get any sleep? Maybe an hour. I think he had to touch her with his hands. Hope you're right, but the Atlanta lab swears he wore like a surgeon's gloves the whole time, Crawford said. The mirror pieces had those smooth prints, forefinger on the back of the piece wedged in a labia, smudged thumb on the front. He polished it after he placed it, so he could see his damn face in there probably, Graham said. One in her mouth was obscured with blood, same with the eyes. He never took the gloves off. Miss Leeds was a good-looking woman, Graham said. You've seen the family pictures, right? I'd want to touch her skin in an intimate situation, wouldn't you? Intimate. Distaste sounded in Crawford's voice before he could stop it. Suddenly, he was busy rummaging in his pockets for change. Intimate. They had privacy. Everybody else was dead. He could have her eyes open or shut, however he liked. Any way he liked, Crawford said. They tried her skin for prints, of course. Nothing. They did get a hand spread off her neck. The report didn't say anything about dusting nails. I expect her fingernails were smudged when they took scrapings. Scrapings were just where she cut her palms with them. She never scratched him. She had pretty feet, Graham said. Let's head upstairs, Crawford said. The troops are about to muster. Jimmy Price had a lot of equipment, 2 heavy cases plus his camera bag and tripod. He made the clatter coming through the front door of the Lombard Funeral Home in Atlanta. He was a frail old man, and his humor had not been improved by the long taxi ride from the airport in the morning rush. An officious young fellow with styled hair hustled him into the office, decorated with apricot and cream. The desk was bare except for the sculpture called the Praying Hands. Price was examining the fingertips of the praying hands when Mr. Lombard himself came in. Lombard checked Price's credentials with extreme care. Your Atlanta office or agency, whatever you called me, of course, Mr. Price. But last night we had to get the police to remove an obnoxious fellow who was trying to take pictures for the National Tatler, so I'm being very careful. I'm sure you understand. Mr. Price, the bodies were only released to us about 1 o'clock this morning, and the funeral's about afternoon at 5. Simply can't delay it. This won't take a lot of time, Price said. I need one reasonably intelligent assistant, if you have one. Have you touched the bodies, Mr. Lombard? No. Find out who has. I'd have to print them all. A morning briefing of police detectives in the Leeds case was concerned mostly with teeth. Atlanta Chief of Detectives R.J. Buddy Springfield was a burly man in shirt sleeves, stood by the door with Dr. Dominic Princey as the 23 detectives filed in. All right, boys, let's have a big grin as you come by, Springfield said. So, Dr. Princey, your teeth. That's right, let them see them all. Christ, Sparks, is that your tongue or you're swallowing a squirrel? Keep moving. A large frontal view of set teeth, upper and lower, was tacked to the bulletin board at the front of the squad room. It reminded Graham of the celluloid strip of printed teeth in a dime store jack-o'-lantern. He had Crawford sat down the back of the room while the detectives took their places at the schoolroom desks. Atlanta Public Safety Commissioner Gilbert Lewis and his public relations officer sat apart from them in folding chairs. Lewis had to face a news conference in an hour. Chief of Detectives Springfield took charge. All right, let's cease fire with the bullshit. If you read up this morning, you saw 0 progress. House-to-house interviews will continue for a radius of 4 additional blocks around the scene. R&I has loaned us 2 clerks to help us cross-matching airline reservations and car rentals in Birmingham and Atlanta. Airport and hotel details will make the rounds again, yes. Yes, again today. Catch every main attendant as well as the desk people. We had to clean up somewhere, and he may have left a mess. If you find somebody who cleans up a mess, roust him whoever's in the room, seal it, and get on the horn to the laundry double quick. This time we've got something for you to show around. Dr. Princey? Dr. Dominic Princey, Chief Medical Examiner for Fulton County, walked to the front and stood under the drawing of the teeth. He held up a dental cask. Gentlemen, This is what the subject's teeth look like. Smithsonian in Washington reconstructed them from the impressions we took of bite marks on Mrs. Leeds, and a clear bite mark on a piece of cheese from the Leeds' refrigerator, Princey said. As you can see, he has pegged lateral incisors, the teeth here and here. Princey pointed to the cask in his hand and then to the chart above him. The teeth are crooked in alignment, and a corner is missing from this central incisor. The other incisors grooved here. It looks like a tailor's notch, the kind of where you get biting thread. Snaggletooth son of a bitch, somebody mumbled. I know for sure it was the perpetrator that bit the cheese, Doc, the tall detective in the front row asked. Princey disliked being called Doc, but he swallowed it. Saliva washed from the cheese and from the bite wounds matched for blood type, he said. The victim's teeth and blood type didn't match. Fine, Doctor, Springfield said. We'll pass out pictures of the teeth to show around. What about giving it to the papers? The public relations officer Simpkins was speaking. Have you seen these teeth sort of thing? I see no objection to that, Springfield said. What about it, Commissioner? Lewis nodded. Simpkins was not thorough. Dr. Princey, the press is going to ask why it took 4 days to get this dental representation you have here, and why it all had to be done in Washington. Special Agent Crawford studied the button of his ballpoint pen. Princey reddened, but his voice was calm. Bite marks on the flesh were distorted when the bodies moved, Mr. Simpkins. Simpkins then. We couldn't make distinct only the bite marks on the victims, as the importance of the cheese. Cheese is relatively solid, but tricky to cast. You have to oil it first to keep the moisture out of the casting medium. Usually you get one shot at it. Smithsonian's done it for the FBI crime lab before. They're better equipped to do a faced bow restoration, and they have an anatomical articulator. They have a consulting forensic odontologist. We don't. Anything else? Would it be fair to say that the delay was caused by the FBI lab and not here? Princey turned on him. Oh, it'd be fair to say, Mr. Simpkins, is that a federal investigator, Special Agent Crawford, found the cheese in the refrigerator 2 days ago, after your people had been through the place. He expedited the lab work at my request. It'd be fair to say I'm relieved that it wasn't one of you that bit the goddamn thing. Commissioner Lewis broke in, his heavy voice booming in the squad room. Nobody's questioning your judgment, Dr. Princey. Simpkins, the last thing we need is to start pissing contests with the FBI. Let's get on with it. We're all after the same thing, Springfield said. Jack, do you fellows want to add anything? Crawford took the floor. The faces he saw were not entirely friendly. He had to do something about that. I just want to clear the air, Chief. Years ago, there was a lot of rivalry about who got the collar. Each side, federal and local, held out on the other. Made a gap that the crooks slipped through. That's not Bureau policy now. It's not my policy. I don't give a damn who gets the collar. Here does Investigator Graham. That's him sitting back there, some of you are wondering. And the man who did this is run over by a garbage truck who'd suit me just fine as long as he puts him off the street. I think you feel the same way. Crawford looked over the detectives and hoped they were mollified. He hoped they wouldn't hoard leads. Commander Lewis was talking to them. Investigator Graham has worked on this kind of thing before. Yes, sir. Can you add anything, Mr. Graham? Suggest anything? Crawford raised his eyebrows at Graham. Would you come up to the front? Springfield said. Graham wished he had been given the chance to talk to Springfield in private. He didn't want to go to the front. He went, though. Rumpled and sun-blasted, Graham didn't look like a federal investigator. Springfield thought he looked more like a house painter who had put on a suit to appear in court. The detective shifted from one buttock to the other. When Graham turned his face to the room, the ice-blue eyes were startling in his brown face. Just a couple of things, he said. Can't assume he's a former mental patient or somebody with a record of sex offenses. There's a high probability that he doesn't have any kind of record. If he does, it's more likely to be breaking and entering than minor sex offense. He may have a history of biting in lesser assaults, bar fights, or child abuse. The biggest help we'll have on that will come from the emergency room personnel and the child welfare people. Any bad bite they can remember is worth checking, regardless who was bitten or how they said it happened. That's all I have. The tall detective in the front row raised his hand and spoke at the same time. But I only bit a few women so far, right? That's all we know about. He bites a lot, though. 6 bad ones on Mrs. Leeds, 8 on Mrs. Jacoby. That's way above average. What's average? And sex murder, 3. He likes to bite. Women. Most of the time in sex assaults, the bite mark has a livid spot in the center, a suck mark. These don't. Dr. Princey mentioned it in his autopsy report, and I saw it at the morgue. No suck marks. For him biting, maybe a fighting pattern as much as sexual behavior. Pretty thin, the detective said. It's worth checking, Graham said. Any bite is worth checking. People lie about how it happened. Parents of a bitten child will claim an animal did it and let the child take rabies shots to cover for a snapper in the family. You've all seen that. It's worth asking of the hospitals, who's been referred for rabies shots. That's all I have. Graham's thigh muscles fluttered with fatigue when he sat down. It's worth asking, and we'll ask, Chief Detective Springfield said. Now, the Safe and Loft Squad works the neighborhood along with larceny, work with the dog angle. They'll see the update and the picture in the file, find out if any stranger was seen with the dog, lice and narcotics, take out KY Cowboys and the leather bars after you finish the day tour. Marcus and Whitman, heads up at the funeral. You have any relatives, friends of the family lined up to spot for you? Good. What about the photographer? Alright. Turn in the funeral guest book to R&I. I've got this one from Birmingham already. The rest of the assignments are on the sheet. Let's go. One other thing, Commissioner Lewis said. The detectives sank back in their seats. I've heard officers in this command referring to the killer as the Tooth Fairy. I don't care what you call him among yourselves. I realize you have to call him something. But I better not hear any police officer refer to him as the Tooth Fairy in public. It sounds flippant. Neither will you use that name on the internal memoranda. That's all. Crawford and Graham followed Springfield back to his office. The chief of detectives gave him the coffee while Crawford checked in with the switchboard and jotted down his messages. I didn't get a chance to talk to you when you got here yesterday, Springfield said to Graham. This place has been a fucking madhouse. It's Will, right? Did the boys give you everything you need? Yeah, they were fine. We don't have shit and we know it, Springfield said. We developed a walking picture from the footprints on the flower bed. He was walking around bushes and stuff, so you can't tell much more than his shoe size. Maybe his height. The left print's a little deeper, so he may have been carrying something. It's busy work. We did get a burglar, though, a couple of years ago off a walking picture. Showed Parkinson's disease. Princey picked it up. No luck this time. You have a good crew, Graham said. They are, but this kind of thing's out of our usual line, thank God. Let me get straight. You fellows work together all the time, you and Jack and Dr. Bloom. Or do you just get together for one of these? Just for these, Graham said. Some reunion. The commissioner was saying you were the one who nailed Lecter 3 years ago. We were all there with the Maryland police, Graham said. The Maryland state troopers arrested him. Springfield was bluff, but not stupid. You could see that Graham was uncomfortable. He swiveled in his chair and picked up some notes. He asked about the dog. Here's a sheet of it. Last night a vet here called Leeds' brother. He had the dog. Leeds and his oldest boy brought in the vet the afternoon before they were killed. Had the puncture wound in the abdomen. The vet operated and it's all right. I think it was shot at first, but he didn't find a bullet. I think it was stabbed with something like an ice pick or an awl. They're asking the neighbors if they saw anybody fooling with the dog, and they were working the phones today, checking local vets for the other animals' mutilations. Was the dog wearing a collar with the Leeds name on it? Nah. Did the Jacobys in Birmingham have a dog? Graham asked. We're supposed to be finding that out, Springfield said. Well, let me see. He dialed an inside number. Lieutenant Flatt is our liaison with Birmingham. Yeah, Flatt. What about that Jacoby's dog? Just a minute. He put his hand over the phone. No dog. They found a litter box in the downstairs bathroom with cat drugs in it. They didn't find any cat. The neighbors are watching for it. Could you ask Birmingham to check around the yard and find any outbuildings? Graham said. If the cat was hurt, the children might not have found it in time and they might have buried it. You know how cats do. They hide to die. Dogs come home. Hey, would you ask if it was wearing a collar? Tell them if they need a methane probe, we'll send one, Crawford said. Save a lot of digging. Springfield relayed the request. The telephone rang as soon as he hung it up. It was a call for Jack Crawford. It was Jimmy Price at the Lombard Funeral Home. Crawford punched on the other phone. Jack, Got a partial that's probably a thumb and a fragment of a palm. Jimmy, you're the light of my life. I know. The partial's a tented arch, but it's smudged. I'll have to see what I can do with it when I get back. Came off the oldest kid's left eye. Never did that before, but never would have seen it, but it stood out against an 8-ball hemorrhage from a gunshot wound. Couldn't make an identification of it. It's a very long shot, Jack. If he's a single print index, maybe, but that's like the Irish sweepstakes. You know that. The palm came off the nail of Mrs. Leeds' left big toe. It's only good for comparison. We'll be lucky to get 6 points off it. The assistant SAC witnessed, and so did Lombard. He's a notary. I've got pictures in situ. Will that do it? What about the elimination prints of the funeral home employees? I inked up Lombard and all his merry men, major case prints, whether they say they had touched her or not. They're scrubbing their hands and bitching now. Let me go home, Jack. I want to work up these in my own dark room. You know what's in the water here? Turtles. Who knows? I can catch a plane to Washington in half an hour and fax these prints down to you by early afternoon. Crawford thought a moment. Okay, Jimmy, but step on it. Copies to Atlanta and Birmingham PDs and bureau offices. You got it. Now something else you got to get straight on your end. Crawford rolled his eyes to the ceiling. Gonna piss in my ear about per diem, aren't you? Right. Today, Jimmy, my lad, nothing is too good for you. Graham stared at the window while Crawford told him about the prints. That's by God remarkable, was all Springfield said. Graham's face was blank, closed like a lifer's face, Springfield thought. He watched Graham all the way to the door. The Public Safety Commissioner's news conference was breaking up in the foyer as Crawford and Graham left Springfield's office. The print reporters headed for the phones. Television reporters were doing cutaways, standing alone before their cameras, asking the best questions they had heard at the news conference, and extending their microphones to thin air for a reply that would be spliced in later for the film of the commissioner. Crawford and Graham had started down the front steps when a small man darted ahead of them, spun and took a picture. His face popped up behind his camera. Will Graham, he said. Remember me? Freddie Lowndes. I recovered the lector keys for the Tadler. I did the paperback. I remember, Graham said. He and Crawford continued down the steps, Lowndes walking sideways ahead of them. When they call you in, Will, what have you got? I won't talk to you, Lowndes. How does this guy compare with Lecter? Does he do him? Lowndes. Graham's voice was loud, and Crawford got in front of him fast. Lowndes, you right, lying shit. And the National Tadler's an asswipe. Keep away from me. Crawford gripped Graham's arm. Get away, Lowndes. Go on, Will. Get some breakfast. Come on, Will. They rounded the corner, walking swiftly. I'm sorry, Jack. I can't stand that bastard. When I was in the hospital, he came in and... I know it, Crawford said. I reamed him out. Much good it did. Crawford remembered the picture in the National Tadler at the end of the Lecter case. Lowndes had come into the hospital room while Graham was asleep. He flipped the back of the sheet and shot a picture of Graham's temporary colostomy. The paper ran it retouched with a black square covering Graham's groin. The caption said, Crazy Guts Cop. The diner was bright and clean. Graham's hands trembled and he slopped the coffee in his saucer. He saw Crawford's cigarette smoke bothering a couple in the next booth. The couple ate in a pepectic silence, their resentment hanging in the smoke. Two women, apparently mother and daughter, argued at the table near the door. They spoke in low voices, anger ugly in their faces. Graham could feel their anger on his face and neck. Crawford was griping about having to testify at a trial in Washington in the morning. He was afraid the trial could tie him up for several days. As he lit another cigarette, he peered across the flame at Graham's hands and his color. Atlanta and Birmingham can run the thumbprint against their known sex offenders, Crawford said. So can we. And the Price has dug a single prints out of the files before. He'll program the Finder with it. We'll come a long way with that just since you left. Finder, the FBI's automated fingerprint reader and processor, might recognize the thumbprint on an incoming fingerprint card from an unrelated case. When we get him, that print on his teeth will put him away, Crawford said. What we have to do, we have to figure out what he could be. We have to swing a wide loop. Indulge me now. Say we've arrested a good suspect. You walk him in and see him. What is there about him that doesn't surprise you? I don't know, Jack. Damn it, he's got no face for me. You could spend a lot of time looking for people we've invented. Have you talked to Bloom? On the phone last night. Bloom doubts he's suicidal, and so does Heimlich. Bloom was only here a couple of hours the first day, but he and Heimlich in the whole file. Bloom's examining PhD candidates this week. He said hello to you. Do you have his number in Chicago? I have it. Graham liked Dr. Alan Bloom, and small, round man with sad eyes, a good forensic psychiatrist, maybe the best. Graham appreciated the fact that Dr. Bloom had never displayed professional interest in him. That was not always the case with psychiatrists. Bloom says he wouldn't be surprised if we heard from the Tooth Fairy. He might write us a note, Crawford said, on a bedroom wall. Bloom thinks he might be disfigured, or maybe leave he's disfigured. He told me not to give that last a lot of weight. I won't set up a straw man to chase Jack, is what he told me. That would be a distraction and would diffuse the effort. He said they taught him to talk like that in graduate school. He's right, Graham said. Who could tell something about him, or you wouldn't have found the fingerprint, Crawford said. How's the evidence on the damn wall, Jack? Don't put this on me. Look, don't expect too much from me, alright? Oh, we'll get him. You know we'll get him, don't you? I know it, one way or the other. Also one way. We'll find the evidence you've overlooked. We'll see other. He'll do it, and do it until one night it makes too much noise going in the husband gets a gun in time. All the possibilities? You think I'm going to spot him across a crowded room? No, that's Enzo Pinza you're thinking about, just that. The Tooth Fairy will go on and on until we get smart or get lucky. He won't stop. Why? Because he's not a genuine taste for it. See, you do know something about him, Crawford said. Graham did not speak again until they were on the sidewalk. Wait until the next full moon, he told Crawford. Then tell me how much I know about him. Graham went back to his hotel and slept for 2.5 hours. He woke at noon, showered, and ordered a pot of coffee and a sandwich. It was time to make a close study of the Jacoby file from Birmingham. He scrubbed his reading glasses with hotel soap and settled in by the window with the file. For the first few minutes, he looked up at every sound. Footsteps in the hall, the distant thud of the elevator door. Then he knew nothing about the file. The waiter with the tray knocked and waited. Knocked and waited. Finally, he left the lunch on the floor outside the door and signed the bill himself. Chapter 4. Wait, Lewis, meter reader for the Georgia Power Company, parked his truck under a big tree in the alley and settled back with his lunchbox. It was no fun opening his lunch now that he packed it himself. No little notes in there anymore. No surprise Twinkie. He was halfway through his sandwich and a loud voice at his ear made him jump. I guess I used $1,000 worth of electricity in this month, is that right? Lewis turned and saw the truck window at the red face of H.G. Parsons. Parsons wore Bermuda shorts and carried a yard broom. I didn't understand what you said. I guess you'll say I used $1,000 worth of electricity this month. Did you hear me that time? I don't know what you used because I haven't read your meter yet, Mr. Parsons. When I do read it, I'll put it down on this piece of paper right here. Parsons was bitter about the size of the bill. He had complained to the power company that he was being prorated. I'm keeping up with what I use, Parsons said. I'm going to the Public Service Commission with it too. You want to read your meter with me? Let's go over there right now, and I know how to read a meter. I guess you could read one too if it wasn't so much trouble. Let's just be quiet a minute, Mr. Parsons. Lewis got out of his truck. Just be quiet a minute now, damn it. Last year you put a magnet on your meter. Your wife said he was in the hospital, so I took it off and didn't say anything. When you poured your molasses in it last winter, I reported it. I noticed you paid up when we charged you for it. Your bill went up after all. You did all that wiring in yourself. Told you until I'm blued in the face. Something in that damn house is draining off current. Do you hire an electrician to find it? No, you call down to the office and bitch about me. I've got about a bait for you, Lewis said. He was pale with anger. I'll get to the bottom of this, Parsons said, retreating down the alley towards his yard. They're checking up on you, Mr. Lewis. I saw somebody reading your route ahead of you, he said across the fence. Pretty soon you'll have to go to work like everyone else. Lewis cranked his truck and drove on down the alley. Now he had to find another place to finish his lunch. He was sorry. The big shade tree had been a good lunch place for years. It was directly behind Charles Leeds' house. At 5:30 p.m., Hoyt Lewis drove in his own automobile to the Cloud 9 lounge, where he had several Boilermakers to ease his mind. When he called his estranged wife, all he could think of to say was, "I wish she was still fixing my lunch." "Got to have thought about that, Mrs. Smarty," she said, and hung up. He played a gloomy game of shuffleboard with some linemen and a dispatcher from Georgia Power and looked over the crowd. Goddamned airline clerks had started coming in the Cloud 9. All he had the same little mustache and pinky ring. Pretty soon they'd be fixing the Cloud 9 English with a damn dartboard. You can't depend on nothing. "Hey, Hoyt, I'm at you for a bottle of beer." It was his supervisor, Billy Meeks. "Say, Billy, I need to talk to you." "What's up?" "You know that old son of a bitch Parsons that's all the time calling up?" "Called me last week, as a matter of fact," Meeks said. "What about him?" "Said somebody was reading my route ahead of me, like maybe somebody thought I wasn't making the rounds. I don't think I'm reading meters at home, do you?" "No." "You don't think that, do you? I mean, if I'm on a man's shit list, I want him to come right out and say it." "If he was on my shit list, you think I'd be scared to say so to your face?" "No." "Alright then, if anybody was checking your route, I'd know it. You executives are aware of a situation like that. Nobody's checking on you, Hoyt. You can't pay any attention to Parsons. He's just an old and contrary. He called me up last week and said, 'Congratulations on getting wise to that Hoyt Lewis.' I didn't pay him any mind." "I wish you put the same law on him about the meter," Lewis said. "I was just sitting there back in the alley under a tree trying to eat my lunch today and he jumped me. But he needs a good ass kicking." "I used to sit back there myself when I had the route," Meeks said. "Well, I'll tell you, one time I seen Mrs. Leeds. Well, it don't seem right to talk about it now, she's dead. But 1 or 2 times she was out in the sunning herself in the backyard in her swimming suit. Ooh, she had a cute little Peter belly. I was damn shame about them. She was a nice lady." "Did they catch anybody yet?" "Nah. Too bad she got the Leeds. It's when old Parsons was right down the street. Convenient," Lewis observed. "I'll tell you what, I don't let my old lady lay around the yard in no swimming suit. She goes, 'Silly Billy, who's gonna see me?' I told her, I said, 'You can't tell what kind of insane bastard might jump over that hedge with his private out.' Did the cops talk to you? Asked if you had seen anybody?" "Yeah, I think they got everybody at that route out there. Mailmen, everybody. I was working Laurelwood on the other side of Betty Jane Drive the whole week until today, though." Lewis packed at the label on his beer. "Say Parsons called you up last week?" "Yeah." "And he must have saw somebody reading his meter. He wouldn't have called in if he had just made it up today to bother me. You say you didn't send nobody, and it sure wasn't me you saw." "Might have been the Southeastern Bell checking something." "Might have been. We don't share poles out there, though. Reckon I ought to call the cops?" "Wouldn't hurt nothing," Meeks said. "I might do Parsons some good. Talk with the law, scare the shit out of him when they drive up anyhow." Chapter 5. Graham went back to the Leeds house in the late afternoon. He entered through the front door and tried not to look at the ruin the killer had left. So far he had seen files, a killing floor, and meat, all aftermath. He knew a fair amount about how they died. How they lived was on his mind today. A survey, then. The garage contained a good ski boat, well used and well maintained, and a station wagon. Golf clubs were in there, and a trail bike. The power tools were almost unused. Adult toys. Graham took a wedge from the golf bag and had to choke up on the long shaft as he made a jerky swing. The bag puffed a smell of leather at him, and he leaned it back against the wall. Charles Leeds things. Graham pursued Charles Leeds through the house. His hunting prints hung in the den. His set of the great books were all in a row. Suwanee Annuals, H. Allen Smith and Perelman, and Max Schulman on the bookshelves. Vonnegut and Evelyn Roth, C.S. Forrester. Beat to Quarters was open on a table. In the den closet was a good ski gun, a Nikon camera, and Bullock's Super 8 movie camera and projector. In the den closest, Graham, who owned almost nothing except basic fishing equipment, a third-hand Volkswagen, and 2 cases of Montrachet, felt a mild animosity toward the adult toys and wondered why. Who was Leeds? A successful tax attorney, a Suwanee footballer, a rangy man who liked to laugh, a man who got up and fought with his throat cut. Graham followed him through the house of an odd sense of obligation. Learning about him first was a way of asking permission to look at his wife. Graham felt that it was she who drew the monster, as surely as a singing cricket attracts death from the red-eyed fly. Mrs. Leeds, then. She had a small dressing room upstairs. Graham managed to reach it without looking around the bedroom. The room was yellow and appeared undisturbed except for the smashed mirror above the dressing table. A pair of L.L. Bean moccasins was on the floor in front of the closet, as though she had just stepped out of them. Her dressing gown appeared to have been flung on its peg, and the closet revealed a mild disorder of a woman who has many other closets to organize. Mrs. Leeds' diary was in a plum velvet box on the dressing table. The key was taped to the lid, along with a check tag from the police property room. Graham sat on a spindly white chair and opened the diary at random. December 23rd, Tuesday, Mama's house. The children are still asleep when Mama glassed in the sun porch. I hated the way it changed the looks of the house, but it was very pleasant, and I can sit here warm looking out at the snow. How many more Christmases can she manage a house full of grandchildren? A lot, I hope. A hard drive yesterday up from Atlanta, snowing after Raleigh. We had to creep. I was tired anyway from getting everyone ready. Outside Chapel Hill, Charlie stopped the car and got out. He snapped some icicles off a branch to make me a martini. He came back to the car, long legs lifting high in the snow, and there was snow in his hair and his eyelashes, and I remembered that I love him. I felt like something breaking with a little pain and spilling warm. I hope the parka fits him. If he got me that tacky dinner ring, I'll die. I could kick Madeline's big cellulite behind for showing hers and carrying on. 4 ridiculously big diamonds, the color of dirty ice. Icicle ice is so clear. A sun came through the car window, and where the icicle was broken off, it stuck up out of the glass and made the little prism. It made a spot of red and green in my hand holding the glass. I could feel the colors on my hand. He asked me what I want for Christmas, and I cut my hands around his ear and whispered, "Your big prick, silly, in as far as it would go." The bald spot in the back of his head turned red. He's always afraid the children will hear. Men have no confidence in whispers. The page was flecked with the detective's cigar ash. Graham read on as the light faded through the daughter's telenestomy and a scare in June when Mrs. Leeds found a small lump in her breast. Dear God, the children are so small. 3 pages later, the lump was a small benign cyst, easily removed. Dr. Yanovich turned me loose this afternoon. We left the hospital and drove to the pond. We hadn't been there in a long while. There never seems to be enough time. Charlie had 2 bottles of champagne on ice, and we drank them and fed the ducks while the sun went down. He stood at the edge of the water with his back to me for a while, and I think he cried a little. Susan said she was afraid we were coming home from the hospital with another brother for her. Home. Graham heard the telephone ring in the bedroom, a click and the hum of the answering machine. "Hello, this is Valerie Leeds. I'm sorry I can't come to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and number after the tone, we'll get back to you. Thank you." Graham half expected to hear Crawford's voice after the beep, but there was only a dial tone. The caller had hung up. He had heard her voice. Now he wanted to see her. He went down to the den. He had in his pocket a reel of Super 8 movie film belonging to the Charles Leeds. 3 weeks before his death, Leeds had left the film with the druggist, who sent it away for processing. He never picked it up. Police found the receipt in Leeds' wallet and got the film from the druggist. Detectives viewed the whole movie along with the family snapshots developed at the same time and found nothing of interest. Graham wanted to see the Leeds alive. At the police station, detectives had offered Graham their projector. He wanted to watch the movie at the house. Reluctantly, they let him check it out at the property room. Graham found the screen and projector in the den closet, set them up, and sat down in Charles Leeds' big leather armchair to watch. He felt something tacky on the armchair under his palm. A child's sticky fingerprints fuzzled with lint. Graham's hand smelled like candy. It was a pleasant little silent home movie, more imaginative than most. It opened with a dog, a gray Scotty, asleep on the den rug. The dog was disturbed momentarily by the movie making and raised his head to look at the camera. Then he went to sleep again. A jumpy cut to the dog still asleep. Then the Scotty's ears perked up. He rose and barked, and the camera followed him into the kitchen as he ran to the door and stood expectantly, shivering and wagging his stumpy tail. Graham bit his lower lip and waited too. On the screen, the door opened and Mrs. Leeds came in carrying groceries. She blinked and laughed in surprise and touched her tousled hair with her free hand. Her lips moved as she walked out of the picture, and the children came in behind her carrying smaller snacks. The girl was 6, the boys 8 and 10. The younger boy, apparently a veteran of home movies, pointed to his ears and wiggled them. The camera was positioned fairly high. Leeds was 75 inches tall, according to the coroner's report. Graham believed that this part of the movie must have been made in the early spring. The children wore windbreakers, and Mrs. Leeds appeared pale. At the morgue, she had a good tan and bathing suit marks. Brief scenes followed of the boys playing ping pong in the basement and the girl Susan wrapping a present in her room, tongue curled over her upper lip in concentration and a wisp of hair down over her forehead. She brushed her hair back with a plump hand, and as her mother had done in the kitchen. A subsequent scene showed Susan in a bubble bath, crouched like a small frog. She wore a large shower cap. The camera angle was lower and the focus uncertain, clearly the work of a brother. The scene ended with her shouting soundlessly at the camera and covering her 6-year-old chest as her shower cap slipped down over her eyes. Not to be outdone, Leeds had surprised Mrs. Leeds in the shower. The shower curtain bumped and bulged as the curtain does before a grade school theatrical. Mrs. Leeds' arm appeared around the curtain. In her hand was a large bath sponge. The scene closed with the lens obscured in soap suds. The film ended with a shot of Norman Vincent Peale speaking on television and a pan to Charles Leeds snoring in the chair where Graham now sat. Graham stared at the blank square of light on the screen. He liked the Leeds. He was sorry that he had been in the morgue. He thought the madman who visited them might have liked them too, but the madman would like them better the way they were now. Graham's head felt stuffed and stupid. He swam in the pool at his hotel until he was rubber-legged and came out of the water thinking of 2 things at once, a Tanqueray martini and the taste of Molly's mouth. He made the martini himself in a plastic glass and telephoned Molly. "Hello, hotshot. Hey, baby, where are you? This damn hotel in Atlanta. Doing something good? None you'd notice. I'm lonesome. Me too. Horny. Me too. Tell me about yourself." "I had a run-in with Mrs. Holper today. She wanted to return a dress with a huge big whiskey stain on the seat. I mean, obviously she had worn it to the JC thing." "What'd you say?" "I told her I didn't sell it to her like that." "What'd she say?" "She said she had never had any trouble returning dresses before, which was the one reason she shopped at my place rather than some others she knew about." "Then what'd you say?" "Oh, I said I was upset because Will talks like a jackass on the phone." "I see. Well, he's fine. He's covering some turtle eggs that the dogs dug up. Tell me what you're doing." "Reading reports, eating junk food." "Thinking a good bet, I expect?" "Yep. Can I help you?" "I just don't have the luck on anything, Molly. There's not enough information. Well, there's a lot of information, but I haven't done enough with it." "Will you be in Atlanta for a while? I'm not bugging you about coming home, I just wonder." "I don't know. I'll be here a few more days at least. I miss you." "Want to talk about fucking?" "I don't think I could stand it. I think we better not do that." "Do what?" "Talk about fucking." "Okay. You don't mind if I think about it, though?" "Absolutely not." "You've got a new dog." "Oh, hell. It was like a cross between a Basset Hound and a Pekingese." "Lovely. He's got big balls." "Never mind about his balls. He almost drag on the ground. He has to retract them when he runs." "He can't do that." "Yes, he can. You don't know." "Yes, I do know. Can you retract yours?" "I thought we were coming to that." "Well, if you must know, I retracted them once." "When was that?" "In my youth. I had to clear a barbed wire fence in a hurry." "Why?" "I was carrying this watermelon I had not cultivated." "You were fleeing from whom?" "A swineherd of my acquaintance. Alerted by his dogs, he burst from his dwelling in his BVDs, weighing a fowling piece. Fortunately, he tripped over the butterbean trellis and gave me a good running start." "Did he shoot at you?" "I thought so at the time, but reports I heard might have been issued from my behind. I've never been entirely clear on that." "Did you clear the fence?" "Handily." "A criminal mind, even at that age." "I don't have a criminal mind." "Of course you don't. I'm thinking about painting the kitchen. What color will you like, Will?" "What color do you like?" "Are you there?" "Yeah, yellow. Let's paint it yellow." "Yellow's a bad color for me. I'll look green at breakfast." Blue, then. Blue's cold. Oh, goddammit, paint a baby shit tan for all I care. No, look, I'll probably be home before long and we'll go to the paint store and get some chips and stuff like that. Okay? Maybe some new handles and that. Let's get some handles. I don't think why I'm talking about stuff. Look, I love you and I miss you, and you're doing the right thing. It's costing you too, I know that. I'm here and I'll be here whenever you come home, or I'll meet you anywhere, anytime. That's what. Dear Molly, go to bed now. Alright, good night. Graham lay with his hands behind his head and conjured dinners with Molly, stone crab and Sancerre, and the salt breeze mixed with the wine. But it was his curse to pick at conversations, and began to do it now. He had snapped at her for a harmless remark about his criminal mind. Stupid. Graham found Molly's interest in him largely inexplicable. He called police headquarters and left word for Springfield that he wanted to start helping with the legwork in the morning. There was nothing else to do. The gin helped him sleep. Thank you. That was part 2 of Red Dragon. Thank you for listening, and good night.